Hello and thank you for joining us in Newsweek, where we highlight some of the biggest stories that made the headlines recently. I am Mark Otabo. This week, Minister of FCT Nyesom Wike accuses Governor Fubara of dismantling Rivers State political structure in 3 months. Also this week, Governor Muftuan resolves to challenge his sack at the Supreme Court as Appeal Court reverses the sack of Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule. And later on the show, President Tinubu intervenes in Ondo State constitutional crisis, meets concerned parties in Abuja. All the details in a moment. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. This week, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT Nyesom Wike, accused Governor Siminalayi Fubara for disorganizing the political structure that produced him as Rivers State Governor within 3 months in disobedience to President Bola Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima. The minister stated that he would not allow anybody to crumble the political structure. Now, joining me to discuss this is Marvin Yobana. He's a political affairs analyst and Africa's representative of World Assembly for Youth. Of course, he's joining me from Abuja. Mr. Marvin Yobana, good evening and good to have you on the show today.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Now, I can't stand ingrates. Give a man power and money, then you will know the person. These were words of Nyesom Wike on the rift with Fubara. Now, weighing in on this, what's your standpoint, actually?
Well, that saying is very popular among the elites. For we, the common men, we've not been given power and money, so we'll not be able to say exactly if that saying is true. But that's on a lighter note. The issues lightening the political space in Rivers State today, like we know, it's a matter that we could address as a family affair. Family affair in the sense that we are all in the same political group. We in Rivers State, including the governor and our leader, the minister for FCT, we all believe in the Asiwaju restoring renewal hope agenda. And we in Rivers State, as PDP, we came out all out to support the Asiwaju ticket. The reason was very clear, because we said it is injustice for the North to do 8 years and it will not go to the South. But after the inauguration on May 29th, the politics is over. What we are facing now is governance. So a lot of people have been trying to fuel the crisis by insinuating things that are not there. There was a very minor disagreement among members of the Legislative House of Assembly in Rivers State, and which led to suspension of some members, so one other faction suspending the other members, and 2 different factions laying claim to the leadership of the Rivers State House of Assembly. And as leaders, the governor of the state is the political leader of the state. The minister for FCT is our national leader here in Abuja. So what we expected from both leaders was to weigh into that differences among the legislators. But it led to a tipping point where some members of the House of Assembly moved for impeachment of the governor. And you know, this is a governor that just barely had mandate for less than 6 months. So the people of Rivers State did not agree to that. I said, what did this governor do? We want to know. And that's why you saw people came out to support the governor. It's not like there's any issue between the minister of FCT and the governor of Rivers State. But people took advantage of that and started blowing it out of proportion. Like we all know Fubara. Fubara is a very humble, loyal, and committed party man. He is very respectful to elders. And since the president told them to go back and work together, Fubara has not made any derogatory statement against the Honorable Minister of FCT. Neither has the Honorable Minister made any derogatory statement against the governor. But you know, I know that rumor mongers and those who feast from crisis are trying to overheat the polity in Rivers State. But I want to say something, and I want to say it here very clear. Whatever interview that the Federal Minister for FCT granted yesterday, he was talking out of grievances, out of the information he got from people. But between him and Sim Fubara, I don't think there's much rift between them. Because if there's a rift, all those people who were appointed into the State Executive Council are still working with the governor today. The local government chairmen that don't even respect the governor, they are still in their offices. Nyesom Fubara has not moved against any of them because he knows this structure is just one structure. And he is not there to defy the structure or take a structure from anybody. But I think that because of the dominion of the governor, where he is very gentle, unassuming, quiet, a lot of people are taking it for granted, taking him for granted, and which is not good. He is, for Christ's sake, he is the chief security officer of the state. He is the executive governor of the state. At least that office should be respected, no matter his age. So I want to appeal to our leaders, both of them, both the federal minister for the Federal Capital Territory and the governor, to overlook rumor mongers and troublemakers, to focus on the act of governance. Wike is doing a wonderful job in Abuja. Nyesom Fubara is doing a wonderful job. For the past 5 months, he has embarked on gigantic projects. You can imagine a 41.15 kilometers road that cut across 5 local governments, dual carriage road with 6 bridges. You know? So you can imagine that kind of project. He has commissioned 2 hospitals already. He has set up others for commissioning. He is working on other areas, the agricultural sector. He's embarking on massive employment in the civil service. For the first time, after 10 years, civil servants have been promoted from the lower cadre up to the higher cadre. More young people are being brought into the civil service. So I don't see this rift helping the state in any way. So we should just focus on the act of governance, and which is very key and critical. The governor is a firm believer. He has told all of us that support him that we should work and support the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President. He is very firm on that. All right, Mr. Marvin Yubana.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Marvin, you just pointed out now that Mr. Fubara is the governor. His Excellency is a very humble man. He's a very loyal party man. And he doesn't seem to be like a man who would actually foment any kind of trouble. But the narrative out there is that Wike is trying to control the politics of Rivers State despite not being governor. And you're actually aware that the governor currently right now has all the executive powers. How do you think there's going to be a balance if all of these issues continues to dangle?
Well, that is why I appeal to the Honorable Minister not to allow people to push him into getting into problem with his family. Because Fubara is a family, we are all family. If there's anybody that has erred, the Honorable Minister can call the person and we can discuss. I don't see any rift between Fubara and the Honorable Minister. But the governor has refused to use his powers because he knows it is a family affair. And he said it clearly that there's a little disagreement between father and son, which will be settled. And the president has firmly told them to go and work together. The Fubara I know is a very respectful and humble man, and he has listened to the president. He has not done anything different. He has not removed anybody. The civil service, the state civil service, just redeployed some senior officers, some members of the civil service, and people said it's politics. Removing the clerk of the assembly is politics. That is the sole responsibility of the Civil Service Commission, and these are civil servants, so they can be moved to any department to serve. And that is clear. So I don't understand where this whole issue is coming from. I know that the Honorable Minister, in his sober time, he will reflect. I know that there are rumor mongers and troublemakers that are trying to cause this problem. The governor has not done anything. There is no clear thing you can say, this is what the governor has done, that can warrant his attempted impeachment, which is unfair. This man was elected barely 6 months, and now look at what we are hearing and what we are seeing. And this man is focused on the act of governance. He is not disrespecting anybody. So I beg the leaders of the state to come together and resolve this crisis, because this crisis is not going to get us anywhere. We want to ensure that the 2 million votes in Rivers State is still given back to Mr. President after the 4 years if he recontests. So we want to be together as a family. We don't want to divide the house. And that is our appeal. And the governor is a very humble man, and he believes in this family that we already have, this political family. He doesn't want to destroy anything. The local government chairman, most of them are not listening to him. His commissioners are not listening to him. But he doesn't mind, because they only have one leader, which is the Minister for FCT. So if there are issues among let me call them his children, the minister should be able to call all of us or anybody who has run for to say, look, I don't like this. Let us do it this way. Let us do it this way. In a very respectful and peaceful manner, and there will be no rancor. So I don't see anything that we have to fight over. As I speak today, the House of Assembly is moribund because there's a court of competent jurisdiction that has barred the two factions from parading or taking any further steps. The last known speaker...
Well, I totally understand where you're coming from. Now, I am going to take, excerpts from what the interview he granted recently. Now, the minister actually did say that he told the governor that there are certain projects that will guarantee his second term. Now, we understand that when you actually try to put a modus operandi, you want to set it up for a particular governor who has just embarked, on his journey in office, there might be issues. Don't you think there's a case of you trying to tell me what to do, and I'm just into this office, I need to also create my own history and create my own legacy? Obviously, the minister wants this current governor to continue on the trajectory on where he stopped. What if there is a compromise with the agreement that is being, tossed around right now that is causing the crisis?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, there is no compromise. The governor has not reneged on any promise he made. The governor promised that he's going to ensure that his administration is people-oriented. His projects and policies will be people-driven, and he will ensure that there will be massive employment in the state. These are the things the governor has done for this past 5 months. Now, the projects that were ongoing, that he inherited, the governor has continued. He has not stopped any of them. They are still ongoing. Even this new ring road we are talking about was initiated by the past administration of Nyesom Wike. And this governor carried it on and flagged it off and even made a deposit. The governor has continued with everything the former governor left behind. He has not changed. Even his chief of staff, even his SSG, everybody working with him, what we all know, was nominated by the minister. And yet, apart from the commissioner from the governor's local government, you see, this governor is a very humble and loyal person. I don't think that Nyesom Wike can find any other person as loyal as Fubara. Fubara is very, very humble and loyal to the core. And I think that is his fault. Because that loyalty, people have misconstrued him for being weak. He is very respectful. That is the kind of governor we have in Rivers State. So we want to appeal.
Mr. Matthew, I wanted to chip in this before you go, okay? Yeah. I wanted to chip in this before you go. Now, the accusation out there right now is the fact that Nyesom Wike is too brash in his approach in trying to actually settle whatever chaos that is out there right now, because granting all these interviews and all these chit-chats can aggravate the issue. Do you suggest another approach for the minister to adopt in creating a more saner climate or saner atmosphere for this whole thing to blow off?
Yes, definitely. The minister, our national leader, knows that he is working as a federal minister under the President Tinubu administration. And this is not a time for distraction for Mr. President. Mr. President made a very bad economy, a very bad security situation. He made a very bad situation, which he is trying to salvage. The president is busy going from one place, talking to investors, going from one, soliciting for support for Nigeria. The minister for FCT should be seen as supporting the president to succeed and not creating any confusion in Rivers State. Because, you see, when we start having confusion here and there, it will not allow the president to be focused on the act of governance. And these precarious times we have, very trying times, the president has a lot on his table. And the president, as a father, had called both of them together and said, look, let there be peace. I think that peace should be sustained and maintained. I will appeal to the minister that whatever is his grievances, he should just slow down a little bit and just treat everybody as a child, so that he can now call us together, resolve whatever issues are there. If there are any grievances, if there are any issues that he really wants to be resolved, he will say it, and it can be resolved. It's not by the media, it's not by these people who are trying to incite him and by saying one thing or the other. Everybody there is working with the minister. So I don't see where this rancor is coming from. The minister is from PDP. The governor is PDP. It's the same political structure. I was the director NGO for the state campaign.
All right.
I was the director NGO. And I was nominated by the honorable minister. Then he was governor. So I don't see a problem. I am from Ogoni extraction. The governor is from my senatorial district. He is an Ijaw extraction. The minister is Ikwere. But if you look at the demographics now, political demographics in Rivers State, is tilting to one local government. And that...
Mr. Marvin Yubana, I think we're actually running out of time now. I want to say thank you so much for your time, actually. Well, that was Mr. Marvin Yubana. Thank you so much for your thoughts, and we hope and pray that when next we invite you, you'll be here for us as usual. But thank you so much for your thoughts so far. All right, that was Marvin Yubana, Political Affairs Analyst.
Thank you for the job you're doing.
Of World Assembly for Youth, joining me from Abuja. Now, we'll take a time out now, and of course, thank you for staying with us. Plateau State Governor Caleb Mutfwang has noted that he has instructed his legal team to file an appeal at the Supreme Court. He described the verdict of the Court of Appeal that nullified his election as a temporary setback that will not deter him from repositioning the state on the path of unity, peace and progress. Mutfwang urged his supporters as well as citizens of the state to maintain law and order. The Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has also reversed the nullification of the election of Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State. Now, still with me to discuss this is Justice Ojeno, a lawyer in the studio. Justice Ojeno, good to have you here.
It's my pleasure joining you.
Legal matters.
Yeah.
Now, the emergence of the governor came under scrutiny as he wasn't sponsored by Congress, according to reports. He also disobeyed a court order asking him to do the right thing. Won't this hinder his chances at the Supreme Court?
It will definitely hinder his chances at the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Because usually there are strong principles of law that if you want the court to actually decide anything in your favor, you mustn't be coming by way. You shouldn't be a contemnor. A contemnor is a person who is actually in active disobedience to the court order, either in the face of the court, what we call in face courier, or outside of the court, ex face courier. So nobody that wants the court to decide anything in their favor will currently be disobeying existing decisions of the court. So I think that may backfire if we are looking at bland general principles of the law. Well, maybe in his own case, he may have one or two rabbits he's pulling out of his hat by way of genius arguments in front of the court. Because again...
I was about to even ask you that. Now, if you're saying that there's no way he would be able to escape whatever wrath coming for him because of this particular evidence, why do you think he has that confidence in saying he has instructed his legal team to file an appeal?
Everybody says that, including people who don't even have a good case.
So are you saying he doesn't have the slightest chance?
I'm not, as much as possible, I'm not supposed to restrict my analysis to him.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, I'm just painting with a broad brush.
Okay.
Because it's important that we know that if a matter is in court, well, I don't think it's in court now. I don't expect them to have filed their appeal at the Supreme Court. Maybe they are in the process of filing it.
Okay.
So because of that, we may have a short window to actually talk on some of these issues and not be prejudicial. So if he says he has instructed his legal team, everybody says that. It's just a general statement. Okay,
just in view of that, the Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, revealed that in 2019, all Zamfara state elected officials and members of the APC, from governor to state and National Assembly lawmakers, lost their posts because the APC failed to carry out legally valid primaries. Now, why is the PDP failing to learn from history?
It's unfortunate. And again, we must also always remember that politicians sometimes are the people who help them with the procedure, who fill in papers for them, or who file papers for them, or they are usually not the most diligent.
Okay.
They believe in brash power. They just feel that they can bully their way through. And that's a lesson that they ought to have learned from the Zamfara debacle. And we must be reminded that in Zamfara, it was even the ruling party at the federal government. Yeah, the decision went that way, and they all actually lost the capacity to even be able to secure the office, to be able to also, in turn, deliver the evidence of democracy to their people. So if that happened, then this is happening now. I won't rule it out that it may happen again in the nearest future because of the nature of politicians generally.
Okay, let me get your thoughts in a few seconds with this. Now, can we have a healthy democracy without the rule of law? Because why is it hard to just follow the laid-down principles and avoid these issues?
It's impossible to have a healthy democracy without the rule of law because democracy itself, one of the major pillars that it stands on is the rule of law. In fact, it may be almost impossible, if not impossible, to have any form of government whatsoever without the rule of law, except that, of course, in dictatorships, they become the law unto themselves, like Louis XVI of France popularly said.
All right, and finally, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu waded into the long political feud in Ondo State this week. The warring sides agreed to sheathe their swords and reunite during a meeting with the president at the State House, Abuja, which lasted more than 6 hours. The president advised all opposing parties to bury the hatchet and embrace peace and elicited commitments to that effect. This means that Akeredolu remains the chief executive of the state, Ayedatiwa remains his deputy governor, and members of the state executive council will continue their respective duties even as the leadership of the State House of Assembly and the state chapter of the APC in Ondo State is preserved. Of course, Justice General right here with me. Well, the presidency has declared that Akeredolu remains the governor of the state as the month-long crisis between factions seems to have ended. Now, what's your overview when this whole fiasco began?
For me, I feel that generally I want to say that karma is a blip because the governor at the time, when he was NBA president, actually said in no uncertain terms to Yar'Adua at the time that he should honorably leave office because he was very, very heavily sick. The governor too is in that situation now. He's not taking that step. But I'm very, very happy with the role that the president is actually playing.
But I want to digress a bit. What is that scare in having your deputy hold down that position for you while you come? What is always that problem? Because if you actually decided that you have this as your deputy governor while you were campaigning to be in that position, what is difficult in saying, I am not going to be around for a while, take charge while I return? Why is there always an issue when it comes to that part?
Okay, for me, I think it's a general attitude to power. And we must always remember that the deputy governor is not a person, usually in politics, a person freely chosen by him. It's a result of a serious political compromise. So it's even possible that he married his enemy in order to be able to get that person as his deputy governor. So he still cannot really sleep. Because we also saw that there were machinations. One of the accusations against the deputy governor was that he wasn't trying to use the Section 189 route, which is the medical route of telling the cabinet to declare the governor unfit. But he's trying to use the impeachment route. He wants to unseat the governor. So the governor technically too is now playing a game of self-preservation, which is the ultimate rule if you follow Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So he's trying to preserve himself.
I know we are running against time, but how do you think this crisis has shaped the politics in Ondo State right now?
I think it's adverse because governance essentially almost completely grounded to a halt, and people who are not elected into offices are now the ones running the affairs largely of the state, according to reportage, because of their proximity to power, maybe by any means whatsoever. And the normal course of governance has actually really been hampered, if not totally comatose.
All right, Justice General. Well, I think it's really interesting having you discuss legal matters all the time.
It's my pleasure.
Always.
It's my pleasure.
All right, and that's our show for today. Remember, you can follow the conversation on our social media platforms at TVC News NG or on our website at tvcnews.tv. I am Mark Otabo. Have a good evening.